Some people find it necessary to tell other people what to do with their lives, and some people should really keep their opinions to themselves. G'day there guys, it's your main man Markee, and welcome back to another episode of r/AmITheA. Now if you love today's bloody good content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on that barbie, and get ready for this spicy episode. Let's go. Am I the asshole for telling my stepson's Bumble date that she should focus on her career and children rather than dating men like my stepson? For context, my, male 36, stepson, male 19, lives at home with my wife, female 41, and I. Last weekend, I found a woman, female 20s, in my living room after I woke up in the morning. She had slept over in my stepson's room, and my stepson was still asleep. He normally sleeps in late on the weekends. When I first came downstairs, she was crying on the phone. I proceeded to introduce myself and ask if I could help with anything. She said that she was on the phone with her mother, who was taking care of her son while she was staying over with my stepson. I proceeded to ask if she knew my stepson through his job, and she said that they met online, Bumble. We talked a little further, and due to reasons I will explain, I ultimately told her that she should not be prioritizing dating, especially men like my stepson, and should instead focus on her career and spend more time with her son. She was a single mother. Here's the thing. My stepson has been living with my wife and I since he graduated high school over a year ago. He is handsome, tall, and in shape, due to his full-time work as a swimming instructor and lifeguard. Since he graduated, he's brought numerous women over to our house, at least 20, but I've lost count now and am not always aware due to working sporadic hours. At first, my wife and I were surprised about how he was meeting them. He barely has enough time to date and uses most of his free time in his room playing video games. When we confronted him about it, he said that he just uses online dating to set up dates and either brings them to our house or drives to them. Last year, he had 2 pregnancy scares, which he handled himself, but my wife and I were aware. Furthermore, a few months ago, I noticed that he kept bringing back 2 different women to our house in alternation. Although I've been a monogamous, long-term relationship type of guy, I understand the whole gist of young men sowing their wild oats. My wife doesn't seem to mind much as long as it's safe and consensual. However, I feel like my stepson may not be being completely transparent with his dates, and I certainly don't believe he's currently a good candidate for young single mothers. Am I in the wrong for interjecting and diverting this young single mother away from her current situation with my stepson? I believe that her son will greatly benefit from her taking a break from dating and spending more time with him. And edit, to clarify, I will admit that I have a protective urge when it comes to single mothers. My wife had a number of abusive partners in her past and has been in therapy ever since. While I'm not saying my stepson is abusive, I do not believe that the hookup culture he's engaging in is healthy for a young single mother with her whole future ahead of her. Career and children come first in my opinion. Now in the comments, Mysterious T7218 says, "Don't date my son if you want a long-term committed relationship." That is okay, it's great and it's very honest. But you saying, "Don't date at all, be a mother," you're the asshole. Career and children come first in my opinion. Oh my god, my ovaries just shriveled up and fell out because of the incredible misogyny coming through my screen. Heaven forbid a woman do as she pleases with her frickin' life. You're the asshole, OP. No one asked your opinion, much less this poor woman or your stepson. And edit in response to several negative comments under mine, a man telling a woman his opinion on her life without being asked is misogyny. OP could have complained to his son, but instead homed in on her being a mom. A woman who has a child who is being cared for, not home alone, is allowed to care for herself. Get off your high horses in thinking that I hate mums or something, because I understand that to care for someone else, you also have to care for yourself. And going out for one night does not mean she's out every single night. You'll need to assume a lot less because it makes you an ass. You're the asshole. Who are you to assume that she doesn't spend enough time with her son because she spent a single night at someone else's? Single mums are allowed to date and have social lives. Say what you want about your son if he's that bad, but you're essentially chastising her for dating as a single mom. Boo! Sexist AF. The advice is not bad, though it sounded to me like, don't waste your time on bums like my stepson. Focus on your career and your kid instead. He could have added and the right guy will come along and you will be ready for it. It is unsolicited advice about her sex life. That's almost always going to be asshole behavior. I don't know. If the stepson is a master manipulator and has her thinking this could be something long-term, a warning could be pretty helpful. If it's just shame on you, go home to your child, then no. Right? To me it's more, my stepson is a loser, don't waste your time on him or men like him. Except for the part where OP says, should instead focus on her career and be spending more time with her son. She was a single mother. How the hell does OP know that she doesn't spend time with her kid? Back when I dated and my kids were young, I would leave after they went to bed and get home in the morning before they woke up. My kids had zero clue that I dated until they were much older, and I let it slip one time at a gas station. Someone said hello to me, they asked who I was, I said I dated him, they asked when, etc. Plus, I didn't date all that much. Maybe once a month? Every other month? To be honest, I spent more time away from my kids going to college than I did dating. Unexposed is by user Target Throwaway 76, titled, Am I the asshole for taking an item out of a cart that my son was pushing at Target while he was working there? Yesterday, I went to Target to buy some clothes for myself. There was one item that I was looking for but could not find. Since my 18-year-old son works there, I figured that it would be okay to look in one of the back rooms that was open. Incidentally, I ran into him while I was there, and he was pushing a cart that happened to have the item that I was looking for. So I went ahead and grabbed it, but when he saw me, he yelled at me and demanded that I put it back and get out of the back room. I refused because he wasn't there to shop, and these items are for people who shop there. He then started to throw a giant tantrum, saying that it was for some order. I asked him who it was for, and he couldn't tell me. He ended up calling over a supervisor, and after some arguing, I eventually got kicked out of the store because I wanted to buy an item. He's currently not willing to speak to me right now. Am I the asshole? Man, Mr. Target Throwaway, what are you coming on here gaslighting your son for? Why are you saying he threw a giant tantrum? Your son's just trying to do his job, and you're the one going out there breaking rules and then saying that he's the problem. Your son could get fired from this job for your actions if he were to not do the things he did here. He did everything right in this situation and you did everything wrong, and now you're saying it's his fault. Yes, you're the asshole for this one. Now in the comments, Fundamental Ick says, you're the asshole. Backrooms are for staff only, and you potentially jeopardized his job with your entitlement. You're the asshole. It was for an order that had been submitted online, and if it was in the cart, it was already scanned in as the store having fulfilled the order. Once that happens, the team member can't remove it, or at least they couldn't last I knew. So you could have caused an even bigger headache when that guest came in to get their order. And of course, the fact that your son works there doesn't make you special. I loved the, I asked who the order was for and he couldn't tell me, as if it was like the mayor or a celebrity or something. It's just a rando online ordering crap, and the son just gets a list of items to stack together for order number 74, which then sits around together waiting for said rando to pick up the order. I mean, he literally could not tell her, because this is a customer's data that she is demanding. What's she gonna do? Pressure the address out of her son and visit that person to discuss the item or something? Yeah, that's probably exactly what she would have done. You're the asshole, OP. OP has major entitlement issues. Am I the asshole for entering the private backroom for employees only at my son's workplace, and at the same time micromanaging and invalidating his growth and independence away from me because I believe that, as his mother, when living in my house, the same rule of no closed doors should also extend to every other door my son closes to me? Oh, and also, am I the asshole for jeopardizing the job I made my teenage son get by not leaving the private area I wasn't allowed to be in because my son had an item I saw and wanted and believed I was entitled to as his parent regardless of why it wasn't on the floor or if another customer had purchased it? Our next post is by user additional12532, titled, Am I the asshole for straightening my daughter's hair without my wife's permission? I, male 32, have a 4-year-old daughter. Let's call her Gracie. Gracie is half black, her mother, female 31, being African American. Her mother overall handled all of Gracie's hair care and taught me how to do simple styles, but even those simple styles were difficult. My wife ended up going on a vacation with her friends to celebrate her friend's birthday, and my mother came over to visit. I hadn't done Gracie's hair in a few days, so it became nappy and unmanageable. When I tried to comb her hair, the comb broke. My mother said that I should get my daughter a perm so her hair would be more manageable, so I took her to a salon to get it permed. My wife got home, and when she saw our daughter, she was livid. She screamed at me and then at my mother for even suggesting that, but I think she's overreacting because it's just hair. Then she brought up our wedding. My mother had tried to get my wife to straighten her hair for the wedding, but my wife refused because she wanted her natural hair on the wedding day so she could be as natural as possible. My mother often comments on my wife's and daughter's hair, and I agree with my mother. But now my wife is telling me that perms chemically burn and damage hair to change the texture, and that I damaged our daughter's hair. Now she's thinking of getting our daughter's hair cut so her hair can heal from the damage. But I still think she's overreacting. Besides, I don't want my daughter's hair to be cut. She looks so cute now. Am I the asshole for straightening my daughter's hair without my wife's permission, even though Gracie is my daughter too? I'm gonna go with yes, you are the asshole for this one. You should have consulted your wife on this and asked her. You have a phone, you could have done that. Yet you chose not to do that because why exactly? You made a big decision that you knew was going to upset your wife. And then you hide behind your mother for this one, who you know that your wife doesn't get along with when it comes to hair. Yes, you're the asshole for this one. Now in the comments, Tools01 says, your daughter is half black. You married a black person and you used the words nappy and unmanageable. Besides that, you sound like you haven't learned how to care for your daughter's hair, nor tried to learn how to care for curly and coily hair. Not to mention it sounds like you haven't learned to respect your wife's boundaries. You're the asshole. Go watch a couple of videos on curly hair and stop listening to your mum. No black person would straighten their child's hair at such a young age. It's just not done. And for your info, hair isn't just hair in the black community. Furthermore, you knew your wife was against straightening your daughter's hair. Did you ever ask her why? You were absolutely wrong. Educate yourself and then apologize to your wife and daughter. You're the asshole. You're the asshole. Huge one, in fact. Doing a perm of her hair at 4 years old? Are you out of your mind? It does chemically burn hair and can even damage the scalp through the chemicals, especially at such a young age. Such procedures should not be done on kids. On top of that, you just did that out of your own convenience without asking your wife, and maybe without even your daughter herself because you were too lazy to learn how to properly comb kinky hair. This being said, your mum gave you a terrible recommendation. She risked damage to her 4-year-old daughter out of her hate for hair structure. I'm sure you knew what she was doing. No older woman can possibly have no idea how a perm works. Quote, my mother had tried to get my wife to straighten her hair for the wedding. Your mother is clearly racist. Why would she try to force your wife to change her hairstyle that is not natural to her? Does she have a problem that your black wife has hair of a black person? Quote, I don't want my daughter's hair to be cut. She looks so cute now. Now? Does she not look cute naturally? And quote, my mother often comments on my wife's and daughter's hair, and I agree with my mother. Couldn't you do your wife a favor and marry someone to whom you're actually attracted to, instead of disliking this at least one specific trait and agreeing with hurtful comments about how you don't like the hair structure over and over again? Can't you just get over it, love your wife for how she is, and tell your mother to shut up, which she should have ages ago? And there's a lot of edits back in the post, but I'm just going to read one because we'd be here all day. Edit, I've read the comments and came to a realization about my marriage and my wife, and now I just feel horrible. My wife has mentioned in passing about her childhood and was always vague about it, but after overhearing a conversation between her and my mother-in-law, I just realized how much I truly messed up. After hearing my wife's conversations about me and my mother, I realized that my mother is a bully and I'm just a drone and a follower. My mother constantly picked on my wife and I just stood by and blindly agreed because she's my mom. But that woman who I married is my wife, and I should have protected her from my own ignorance and my mother's ignorance. I'm cutting my mother off, and I'm going to apologize to my wife and daughter and start watching hair tutorials again. I'm also going to sign up for a hair braiding class when the pandemic is slowed down once more. God, I'm a horrible husband and father. When my wife is willing to talk to, I won't force her, I'll apologize, and if she wants to leave me over this, it'll hurt like hell, but I'll understand. I've just pushed her to the sidelines for so long, and I couldn't even see it. Our next post is by user Distinct Square 4063, titled, Am I the asshole for reaching out to my baby daddy's estranged father to tell him I'm pregnant, even though my baby daddy didn't want me to? I'm currently 4 months pregnant with my friends with benefits, who I'll call James. I haven't known James for long, but we both agreed to keep the baby and be co-parents as best as we can. I'm still very close to my family and want my child to have a good family situation as well. James is not close to his remaining family, his father Ben and sister Kathy, and has not spoken to them for 5 years. According to James, when he told his dad that he wanted to quit his managerial job in a Fortune 500 company and start his own business, Ben told him that he was a fool and didn't support him. The business struggled during its infancy, and James asked Ben for help. His family is relatively wealthy, but Ben refused and warned Kathy not to help. James's business has taken off and he's doing well for himself now, but never forgave Ben and Kathy for not helping. As far as I know, Ben never reached out to apologize to James. Kathy eventually did, but James didn't accept it. I told James that I understand if he wants nothing to do with Ben and Kathy, but I would like our child to know his grandfather and aunt and cousins. James, on the other hand, doesn't want Ben and Kathy to meet our child ever. He says he can support our child himself, but I told him it's not about financial support, but about our child knowing his side of the family. I decided that I'd reach out to Ben and tell him I'm pregnant, and that I would like him to be a part of our child's life if he wants to. It will be up to Ben to decide. I'm not asking him for anything anyway. Ben was happy to hear from me. He apologized and said that he would like to have a paternity test after the baby is born, but if all is well, he would very much like to be a part of the child's life. He invited me over for lunch this weekend so we can meet in person with Kathy and her family. He also told me to call him if I ever need anything, which I thought was nice of him. I'm not saying that he wasn't an asshole to James before, but I believe that people can change and become kinder, especially as they get older. I told James that I talked to his father and he got angry, saying that I had no right to contact his family without his permission. He says that our child is also his child, so he should have a say on who is and who is not to be in our child's life. I told him that I think I'm perfectly within my rights to contact the grandfather of our child, who is also my child. I am not asking James to talk to his father or go with me to lunch this weekend. He can keep staying away from Ben and Kathy all he likes, but I think it's crossing the line for him to tell me to stay away from Ben and Kathy myself. Am I the asshole? Now in the comments, Food Baby Baby says, "You're the asshole. You're a massive asshole. What you did is an enormous betrayal of James's trust, and it wasn't your place to do so. James is right in that he does get a say in who is in his child's life. You should have kept talking to James about the issue, not gone behind his back. In the future, when James goes around you and does something you don't like, remember your actions here. Couldn't agree more. Plus, she's never even met Ben. All she knows of him is that he has a complete lack of faith in his own child. Doesn't seem like a quality that would make me fight this hard to keep him in my child's life. Something tells me that she has other motives, with a bunch of dollar and pound signs. No, it's because family is the most important thing. Every S is a dollar sign. You're the asshole. He's estranged for a reason. You went behind his back and thought that you knew better than him. So they're willing to treat their own child like crap, haven't talked to them in 5 years, and these are the type of people you want around your child? Huge asshole that overstepped boundaries. You have a good relationship with your parents and are blind that other families aren't like that. Edit to add, as others have pointed out, I wonder how much money is a factor in your decision. Ben wants a paternity test. I'd be pissed, and instead, OP wants to do lunch. You're the asshole. She wants access to the wealthy family, and the paternity test is part and parcel. Being on James's side doesn't get her kid access to the family funds, but being on Ben's side does. Exactly my thought. Not only is the OP a major asshole, she's also trying to get easy money from her friends with benefits family. Entitled much? And you're the asshole. You want to successfully co-parent, but the first thing you do is break boundaries and trust and go to people he didn't want you to? That's his family. It's his choice. I would be livid. You know what you were told about his family. There could be much more that you don't know. You screwed up and owe him a sincere apology. Anyway guys, I think that's where I'm going to end today's video. If you did like it, tell me what you thought about it down in the comments below, and make sure to just interact with everyone in this community. I love each and every one of you that I get to see on a daily basis. And don't forget, if you are a Patreon subscriber, I love you. You're on the screen right now with the YouTube members as well. If you see yourself, give yourself a pat on the back. You guys help me continue this YouTube journey. You keep me going. I see you guys everywhere. I see your messages, and thank you so much for supporting me. I really love every single one of you. But with that all said, I'm going to be signing off now, guys. I hope you have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.